Test, test. Good morning. It is 10 a.m. and it is time for Google Domination. And today we are working on Google Sheets. I had trouble remembering earlier this week what I had planned, and so I had to go back and look at my video title to see what I needed to prepare for today. So we are ready to go with Google Sheets. I think I called it Stay in Your Seats, We're Using Google Sheets, or something silly like that. So, welcome to Google Domination this morning. Let me just double check something. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right. So, Google Sheets. I have an example spreadsheet here that I have created. And one of the first things that I probably want to talk about is, so this is a spreadsheet, and you have other spreadsheets at the bottom, or you have other sheets. So I believe in Excel, it's like a workbook, and each thing at the bottom, each tab at the bottom is a new spreadsheet maybe. But in Google Sheets, this is a spreadsheet, and then each one of these at the bottom, if it'll work, there we go. Each one of these at the bottom are just another sheet. And so I'll actually show you how to delete a sheet. That's not what I wanted to do. So if I click on that, I can delete it. So you can delete sheets. You can duplicate sheets and things like that. So the nice thing that you can do is you can color code things. And I like to color code if I'm working on a spreadsheet and I have something that I still need to come back and do in that spreadsheet. I'll code it like yellow or red or something like that. And it puts a little line there at the bottom. I'm hoping that you're able to see that. It's pretty far down at the bottom. And so you can color code things. If you have comments, you can view all of the comments. If you like to hide things from people, you can certainly hide it. If you have a lot of other editors and you wanted to protect the sheet, that's very useful. You can also one thing I want to remind you of is you can actually protect a range. I was talking with some students this week, and I gave them a template that they made a copy of. And to keep them from accidentally messing formulas up, I showed them how to protect that range. And so that's something that you can do. Not only could you protect the whole entire sheet, but you could click on this and then right-click once you've selected a range, and down here you can protect the range. So if I click Protect Range, I can set the permissions. Oops. And so this is showing me what my range is. So it's on this particular sheet. and it's the entire B column, so it's B through B. And I could actually change this here where it would be protecting B through C, so it would be the whole column B and all of column C, but I'll leave it as B. And if I click Set Permissions, this pops up, and so I can change who is able to, like, you can protect it for certain users. If you have users who have a tendency to accidentally mess things up, you can just protect it for them. Or you can do it where it shows a warning for everyone. So it will actually let them, it will let people edit. But if I click over here and I start to type something and I hit return, you get this heads up. You're editing part of the sheet that shouldn't change accidentally, and that's not something that I made up. That's Google's native thing that they do in there. So, and the nice thing is, if you are editing in a part of the spreadsheet and you don't want to go unprotected, you want to leave it protected, you can just don't show this again for 5 minutes. So that's kind of nice. So, back to sheets. I just didn't want to forget about protecting a range because that is pretty important. One of the things that you'll notice on this specific sheet that you did not see on this specific sheet is this sheet is called Form Responses, which I can change that name, but it actually has a form linked to it. And so when that Google form is submitted, the information is coming into the spreadsheet. And I'll talk about forms in another episode. But a form can only have one destination, but you can have multiple forms feeding this sheet. And so when we talk about forms or feeding this spreadsheet, so it would be another Form Responses, or whatever the name of that form is. You can actually rename this to something else. But I'm not going to do that right now because I have some other things that are dependent on it being that name right there that run in the background. So anyway, you can have forms feed, multiple forms feed a single spreadsheet, which is very handy. You can copy sheets from one spreadsheet to another. And so if I chose existing spreadsheet, then it would open a window here in my drive, and I could choose. So I have the option to go into my drive and choose another spreadsheet. The nice thing is if you're working on those spreadsheets at the same time, if you click on Recent, then we get things like this. So I could have it go to something recent that I used. So I'm going to cancel out of that because I don't actually want to do that. Change color, rename, copy, duplicate. Okay, so I think I've talked about all of those. You have this move right and move left, but I find that it's much easier just to drag things into a different order rather than using that move right or move left. And I don't know what the limit is on having a number of sheets, but I do know that you have the plus down here at the bottom, and that's behind my webcam. Great. So let me change the size of this just a little bit. And that's not doing anything. So I need to change it over here. Apologies. I had moved my webcam over here to this other side because it was messing with my drive last week when I talked about drive, or the other week. And so now I'll just put myself right here, maybe in the middle, and we'll transition to that. Okay, there we go. So now, sorry about that. So you can see this add sheet here at the bottom, the little plus. And then this lists all of your sheets. So if you have so many down here at the bottom that it goes behind this Explore tab, you can click the pancakes and it'll show you all of the sheets that you have. So kind of nice. Got a few little things down here that we don't normally ever look at. The other thing that I'll mention, because I just literally had someone in my office about 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, who said I don't even see that menu up there. Like, I don't even notice it. I want you to look up here at the add-ons menu, because the add-ons menu, like, I've never even looked at this project sheet planning. I have no idea what that is. So there's obviously a nice little help section that we could go to. But if you go to add-ons, it'll open the add-ons marketplace. And so you have things like this right here, Flubaroo, which is, it helps you grade. If you're using online forms as and you're feeding a spreadsheet as like a test, Flubaroo will help you grade those things. It's a script that runs in the background, and it has some analysis tools with it, so that's a nice one. There's some mail merge stuff down here. Power tools, I have no idea what that is. Save as a document, just lots of things down here, and you can search add-ons for what you want. Be careful about using things that don't have very many users. So Flubaroo's got like almost 1 million users, which I would absolutely recommend Flubaroo if you're using Google Forms as a test, even though Google Forms has a built-in quiz that you can do in there. So anyway, I won't dwell on add-ons. I just want you to see that this is here, and there might even be some in your domain that people have created. So I like to write scripts that do things for me. For instance, we have a script for doing our data, and so if we want to score this, so for example, let's just take that out. And if I want to score this, because this is like an alumni survey, I think, okay? And so they're being asked questions, and you'll see those questions in a minute. But I wanna analyze this, so we have a maximum score all the way down here, which these are things that I have put in. So I'm just going to get rid of this so that you can see the script run to see what it does, just as an example. And so basically I have this script set up so if it scores it as a 3 if it starts with target, it scores it as a 2 if it starts with acceptable, and if it's unacceptable then it scores it as a 1. And so you can see our values here of target, acceptable, unacceptable. You can see where we're living with our scores right now. But evaluate, if I want to score all the students on this whole spreadsheet, or I can select one student and I can score that selected student. Oh, and I've got to authorize because I haven't run this script. I have under a different Google account, but this is good for you to see how scripts work. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to allow, because it wants to like do the things in my spreadsheet. So now it's scored, and that authorization only runs one time. Okay, so it scored a 41 out of 42, but if I have a lot of data, I also have a script that I can score all students, and I don't have to do that authorization because I've already authorized the script to run, that project, so it has multiple scripts in it. Okay, so now you can see I have some data here that I can use, and I can analyze that. And additionally, I've done some things with columns of data with aggregating and disaggregating. And so these menus, you'll never see these menus because that's a custom menu that is another script that runs in the background. So I'll talk about scripts later. I just want to let you know that's basically what an add-on is. It's a script that someone has written, and they have gotten it approved to be out on the add-ons marketplace. So I have not written any scripts that I've put out onto the marketplace, but I find it kind of fun to build those things because anything that you do over and over again, you can script it with Google Scripts runs in JavaScript. So it's not as difficult to learn as you would think. So yay scripts. You should all go learn some code. It's very important. Okay, just check a few things here. I know that there's a live chat over there on our window if you're watching this on YouTube. And so I'm going to go to that. You can actually access this if you go to youtube.com/Jody. Jody is awesome, I think, is the name of my channel, if I remember right. And so that should be where this is. So we're about to get the... No, that's not me. Never mind. That's not right. So, should have had this set up. Okay, so I'm not going to get the chat. Never mind. I'm not going to have the chat open and available for you to chat with me. So I'll work on that for next week, because I know in looking at things like spreadsheets, I know that there are a lot of things that you would probably have questions on. So if someone's out there watching and you want to step into my office and help me by watching the chat, that would be great. If not, no problem. Okay, so let's talk about formatting on a sheet. Okay, I like this top row to be black with white letters, and so you can easily change that with the fill color and the text color. And I've selected that whole row, so I could change the text color to like this bright green if I wanted to, which actually is not bad. It's better than I thought it would be. The other thing I can do that would be nice is I need to see this whole question. These are the questions from my form. So this is what the form says, except for this column and that max score column at the very end. Those are not, obviously not on the form. So let's say I want to see this whole question while I'm looking here. So I want to know what the question is. Well, I have the text wrapping option here, and right now you can see that you can see what it's doing. It's clipping the text. You can overflow, so if there's nothing in the next column, it would overflow into that column, but it would clip otherwise. But wrapping is really nice, except when you have gigantic questions. Sometimes it's not so nice, but you can make that a little bit better by widening the column, you know. So you can look at those things. So you can do that, and it will do it will do that on any row or column or cell or range of cells that you select. So that did it on the first row for me. I could come down here and do that on these rows, but it gets really clunky because the answers are so long. As you can see, it cuts off the whole page actually. And so if I want to scroll in this, yeah, it looks really bad. So obviously you can see why I don't do wrapping on the answers. I would rather have them clip, because all I care about is the first word. The person who answered the survey cares about the rest of the answer. All I care about is the word, because I've assigned those values to 1, 2, or 3. So, okay, so let me turn this clipping off, and let's look at some other formatting. Sorry, wrapping. I'm going to turn wrapping off, and I'm going to turn clip back on. And let's look at some other formatting issues or formatting questions. So, if I select the entire spreadsheet by clicking this right up here, and I'm guessing that you're not able to see my cursor, which is disappointing. So I clicked the right above the right next to A and right next to 1, there is a white box, and that selects the whole spreadsheet. So here's what I want to do. I want to go to Format, and this is all white, but I would like to have alternating colors instead. So before I do that, I'm actually going to, let's clear this formatting right here, and you do that. Well, I don't have the clear formatting there, but I have it on the formatting. Clear formatting. Okay, so now this is back to just like it was, and I could actually clear formatting on the whole spreadsheet. So if I go to Format, clear formatting on the whole spreadsheet, then everything changes back to default, which is Arial 10 white fill with black text. And normal text, no formatting at all on any of the text or in any of the cells. And the one that I really like is this alternating colors. And if I click alternating colors, then I get this box over here. And so you have different styles. You have whether or not you have a header or a footer. So it would take your last column and make it a different color. The default style is this gray with a dark gray header. You can actually turn that off where it's just alternating. It doesn't give you a header. But in our case, I would like a header, except I don't want the header to be that color. I prefer the header to be black. And then I'll go in and I'll change the text color so that it shows back up. But you can choose, you have these kind of built-in things that you can use. But you can create a custom style and make it be exactly what you want, like I've done. And so I can add this, I believe. No, I can't add that. Never mind. I was thinking I could add that up here, but I can't do that. So if you want to remove, once you've done alternating colors, if you want to remove them, you can come back into this menu and click down here on the remove in the bottom right. So I'm just going to click done. And so now I have my alternating colors, and it's much easier to see than it was before. It's much easier to look at. But I do need to change the color, the text color. I need to change that to white. So now you can see that. Of course, you can change the font size. I usually make it pretty small up here in this top row because in general, what I'm doing with this form is I'm looking at this data right here, primarily in this row, or I may be looking at individual things where someone says they never taught and they didn't answer. That means they don't answer anything else, and so scores them as a 0. So I would want to know who that was, or something like that. So, so alternating colors. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, so here's something. If I let's say that I put 1,000 here, and I put 2456 there. Actually, I will. Well, let me show you a couple of little things with patterns, because the spreadsheet will recognize patterns. And so I grab this little blue box and I can drag that over, and it will copy that. To those other cells. I'm going to undo that though, because maybe I have 2455 over here, and I want that to. Actually, let's just use that here. I'm going to copy and paste that, and cut and paste actually. And so let's, for whatever reason, I actually have this as a column where I'm putting money in. So you can see I've got some decimals here, and if I have a repeating pattern that I want to go all the way down with or across or whatever, I can just grab the little blue box in the corner, and you'll note that, you'll note that in this column it has 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, which is decimal place, so it deletes the 0. But I can increase the decimal places with this little button right here so that I get a 60 there. Same thing with 70. I can increase that decimal place. Or I could click this whole row and increase the decimal places or decrease the decimal places, and it would round automatically. So like 24.65, if I decrease those decimal places, it goes to 24.7, so it's rounding automatically. But the other thing is, if this is money, I actually have, well, number one, I have a currency button right here, but I don't use the toolbar for this kind of stuff a lot. I prefer to go to the format menu and go to this number, And then I have lots and lots of options right here. So if it's currency, it could be currency rounded, or it could just be currency. If it's financial or accounting, so there's very specific things here. A lot of times if you have really big numbers, like say a student puts in an ID number, it's going to automatically probably format that as in scientific notation. And so using the format menu is where you would change the format to get it into what you want. It's really nice sometimes if say you're using a spreadsheet to keep track of how many hours someone is tutoring or how many hours for whatever. You can have a date and time column where they put a time in, and then the next column they put a time out, and then the next column you can use just subtract the two and format it as duration, and it'll give you this right here, which is right now that duration is formatted as hours, minutes, and seconds. But if you wanted to, if you had some other thing, some other format that you liked, you could actually go and make a custom number format like I've done. So this is for phone numbers. I made that custom format. And then this is hours and minutes. So I prefer my duration to be in just hours and minutes. I don't need hours, minutes, and seconds. So if I were doing something, I would, for duration, for time, I would use this specific one right here. But I need to format that as currency, and once I do that, then it puts a $sign and it formats that whole entire column as currency. So now when I come down here and put in the dollar amount for this student, 27.9, it automatically is formatting that as currency for me. The other thing, probably if you're looking at this and you're a little OCD like I am, you can change where things are within the cell. I tend to put everything in the middle. That's probably not a best practice, but that's what I tend to do, so I just want you to know that it's there. You can also change the rotation of your text, which sometimes you want text to run, you want it to stack, and that's really weird. But, if you needed to do it like that, you could. We're going to go back like it was. You can actually choose a specific degree of rotation. Okay, so that's kind of about, that's all really I'll talk about as far as formatting goes. You can do things like merge cells, which are nice. That's one of the things that you can do right here, merge cells. You can merge horizontally, so it would just merge, you would have 4 long rows. You could merge vertically where you'd have 4 distinct columns, or you can merge them all into one where it makes that one cell. So not a lot different than Excel. A lot of things in Google Sheets. In fact, I used to not really be what I would call a power user of Google Sheets, but the more I've used spreadsheets, the more things I've found that they're useful for. So that is definitely something that I would encourage you to start using spreadsheets, because you'll find all kinds of reasons to use them. So what are some of the reasons you would use a spreadsheet? Well, I mentioned data a minute ago. And so if I'm looking at how everyone did in this particular cell, how they did on their total score, this is an average of all of the scores going across this column. But if I wanted an average of this whole entire row of things right here, number one, I could do a formula in this cell. I could do equals average and select that area and hit enter, and it would tell me the average. But if you only just want to look at the average just for a second, you don't need it there all the time, it automatically does some things down here at the bottom for you, which is pretty interesting. It will give you the sum of cells that you've selected. It'll give you the average. It will count for you how many are there. It'll give you the maximum and minimum. So that's kind of interesting. But here's what's really interesting. If I put equals, sometimes it will, if it knows based on how your spreadsheet is set up, or sometimes, well, that's not what I wanted to do. In just a second here. So if I type average over here and I put equals, it gives me, it recognizes that I'm probably going to put an average in there because I typed average in the cell next to it. And so it will even give me the recommended formula, the suggested, based on the data that's there, based on the data that's next to it. Okay, so that's kind of interesting to me, and this is something brand new that I've started seeing within, I don't know, the last month or so. So I'm not saying that it's just come out, but it's something I just started noticing. So maybe I'm doing something different. Now, I could type that whole formula, but it's typed it out for me. And one thing that I tell my students specifically when they're working on spreadsheets is, if you know the name of the formula that you want to use, so let's say that I want to get the total of this column, which I don't know why I would, but sum, like we want to know the total, but you want to sum that up. So instead of me having this here, let's do this. Let me get rid of this so that it doesn't give me a suggestion. So if I put equals in there, it knows that I'm going to do something, some sort of formula. That's the signal to the spreadsheet that I'm going to do a formula. And so I type in sum, or if I just type S, it gives me all of the things. And so here's the one that it's recommending based on the data. But all of these formulas that start with S, it'll tell me those things. Now, what if I wanted to know the mean or the median value? And so once I click on the formula or keep typing the formula, it gives me this little help menu. So what I'm trying to say here, and I'm not doing a very good job of it, is if you know the first letter of the formula that you want to use or what the formula is called, go to a cell, type equal, and start typing a word and see what suggestions come up. Because once you select the formula that you're going to do, this will show you what you need to put in. It'll give you an example. So for me, I'm going to go with F6 through F60. And when I do that, when I finish that, it shows me the value of the formula right here, which I really like that, because I can look at that and say, is that a reasonable value for that range of numbers? And for the median, the very middle number, yes, that is definitely, it's between 0 and 60. And so I don't think this is counting the zeros for the median value, but anyway, so it tells me the value before I hit enter, but that's what's going to show up here. Now, then I would type over here, median. And I wonder if I come back here and hit equals. Yeah, see, because it sees this word over here, it gives me the suggestion based on the data. So, there we go. And that's a different number for whatever reason. I guess the default for median is to 1 decimal place. So I don't know for sure on that. Now let's get to some. So formulas are really nice. There are a lot of things you can do. Lots and lots and lots of formulas, especially for grades, if you want to analyze grades for your students or things like that. So let's say that you're using this data to, in your department, it's driving your instruction in your department, which is this is one of the surveys that our students get. And so I'm going to take that data for the responses in 1819. And if I scroll, or I'll select this right here, and there are already some charts down here at the bottom, so I probably should get rid of those charts because I want to show you how to create a chart actually. So I'm actually going to just select this. I'm going to go up and I'm selecting this range of data, and I'm holding the shift button. And so if you want to select a row or a column of data like all together, click on one and then go to the last cell that you want to select, hold your shift button down and click there, and it selects everything in between. If you want to select some cells, if you hold down the either Control or Command, if you're on a Mac, it will select cells that are not touching, like it's not a range of data, it's just individual cells. So you can do that as well. But I do actually want this range of data right here, and I'm going to make a chart out of this. So if I go up here, I can click on Insert Chart, or I really like the Tools menu, just kidding, the Insert menu, and it has Chart because I can, again, the toolbar is kind of limited, but the Insert will give you everything that you want. So Insert Chart. And it's thinking, maybe. Let's try that again. There we go. Insert Chart. Okay, so here's what it did. It, based on the data, it thought about the data for a minute, and it gave me a chart that it thinks that I want. And that actually is the correct chart, because if you look down here at the bottom, I have this set up, I have it changed a little bit where all of my charts are the same color, because for whatever reason, it's really odd. If you insert a whole bunch of charts into a spreadsheet, it won't necessarily make them all the same color-wise. Well, I wanted all of my unacceptables to be yellow, all of my acceptables to be bright green, and so on, target to all be blue, because I wanted to be able to just look at these charts and be able to see very quickly like how big of the pie is unacceptable on these, and it's not bad. And so if we go from there, it's kind of clunky to look at these charts in the spreadsheet. So you can click on a chart and make it, you can do a couple of things with that chart. You can download it as an image to put into a document, save it as a PDF, you can publish it online. You can actually publish your sheet online as well. It will give you a website for this. There we go. Publish is not there. It's under the File menu, sorry. Publish to the web, and you can choose, do you want to do the entire document? Do you want to do the form responses? Like what is it that you want to publish? And I want to publish the 1819 sheet, just this sheet. So 1819, that's what I'm going to publish. And I can make it a web page, I can publish it as a PDF, like I can do all those things. I can actually get code to embed it, and I have some content and settings down here. I'm not going to do the entire document, I'm just going to do 1819. Or you can just do this chart. So this is actually listing the chart. So when you go into your publish settings, it'll give you all kinds of options. It just doesn't say chart number 1 or chart number 2. This is actually the title of the chart, which is the question. And you can, oh, look at this one down here. This is the best. So when changes are made, so you would then have a web page of this data that would constantly be up to date. Every time you update the spreadsheet, your data web page or whatever is up to date. So that's kind of nice. Lots of options there. We're going to go a step further though, which obviously you can, with this button, you can require people to, oops, I see that my face is in the way. Require viewers to sign in with whatever your domain is by checking this box. And this box is automatically republished when changes are made. I forgot you couldn't see that, so my apologies. I'm guessing probably you can't see that either, but I think you get the point that you can choose some things there. And it'll give me a code to embed whatever it is that I'm doing, but I'm not actually going to publish this to the web. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go and I'm going to open a new Google document. Just a blank document. And this is where, and I think there are probably macros and things that run with Word documents and Excel spreadsheets that you could accomplish the same thing. But I like this because it's all online and I don't have to have the document in a specific place on my computer for the macro to work and spreadsheets to talk to documents. This does it through Google in the cloud. So I'm on my document, and I know I talked about documents last week, but I can, did I talk about documents last week? I think I did. I can insert a chart, and I mean, I could build a chart, but I've already built my chart in spreadsheets, right? So from Sheets, and it's going to open, it's going to show me my recent sheets. And I'm just going to click on Example Spreadsheet, and when I select that, it's going to give me the option of all of the charts that are in there, and I can select all of these charts. So these are all my charts. All my charts. There are some there that are kind of weird, but I'm holding down, I actually don't have to hold anything down. I can just click, 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 click. And I'm selecting each one of these sheets all the way down to number 14. So that's an extra one. We're not going to worry about that. There's some charts that don't have any data. I don't want those. It's looking at all of the charts in this spreadsheet, not just on the sheet that you visibly saw. Now notice here we can link this to the spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm going to import those, and they're all going to go onto my document in such a way they're all the same size. It's put them about 2 to a page. The only thing that kind of messes stuff up is if the questions are a little bit longer, so you can see that. Okay, now here's where it's really good, when it's linked to a spreadsheet. Okay, if I go onto this sheet, let me get rid of this one, delete that chart. And if I go here, and let's say for whatever reason, I'm going to change, my data changes. You have data that comes in later or something like that, right? So now my data has changed because this chart down here, this chart right here, it has more acceptables. That's what changed. Now, that may not make a whole lot of sense yet, but because my data has changed, if I come back over here, notice here that there's an update button on this number 1 chart. Because it's linked to this spreadsheet, to this chart, this live chart, now I have a live chart on my document, and if I click update, our acceptable changed. It went up over 50% because of that extra data that I put in there. And now this chart reflects this chart over here. So, kind of a long way of getting around to say that Google Docs, if you are presenting data from a spreadsheet, you can use that, use data charts that you've created in Sheets and put it into Google Docs. And as long as, you can update your charts in there with just one click on each chart. And it even gives you an update button when it knows that data has changed. So if I had a chart on this page that was constantly looking at the data in this column, so column G. So I'm actually not going to select anything. I'm just going to say insert a chart, and I'll build my chart from scratch in this case. And so it's trying to guess what I want. Well, it's looking at these, at some kind of weird looking data. So I'm going to change this data range to F6. And I'm just going to put through F. And then I'm going to choose this pie chart. And oh, sorry, it's column G. My mistake. And it's saying through 72, and that's only because I only have 72 things on here. Well, as more data comes in, this chart will change because it's looking at all of column G, yeah. So that would be a reason that the data would change, is if you have a form feeding that spreadsheet. Every time somebody submits a form, your chart's going to change. Let's say that you had published this chart to the web. If you publish this chart to the web, and it's going to be interactive. Interesting. Oh yeah, it's interactive rather than an image. So the interactive means that it's going to republish when changes are made. So I could publish that on the web, and are you sure you want to publish that selection? And it gives me a link. So let me go over here, and now, just like on my document, if I go to my published chart, there's my published chart. And for some reason, it pixelates. I'm zoomed in pretty close, but it pixelates. So it's interactive by the fact that I can roll my mouse over this and it'll show me like what the answer was for that. So instead of you just seeing this little piece right here, instead of you just seeing the did not H ... or acceptable the teacher ... you roll your mouse over and it shows you the whole entire response. So okay, so I'll probably beat that dead horse as much as I need to beat that dead horse. So let me get back over here to my chart, and I've zoomed in way too much. So let's zoom back out a little bit. And I'm going to stop publishing that chart because, maybe I don't want that data. Maybe I don't want that data out there all the time. Or maybe I don't need this for a presentation or a scrolling kiosk that people can click on stuff on your kiosk at your table, at a conference table or something like that. I'm just trying to think of examples of why you would want to publish a chart or publish a document or something like that. In this case, I would be much more likely to publish a document and simply hide the rows that had sensitive information in it or something like that, which you could do, and people could see the document, but they can only see what you're letting them see. Okay, what else can we do here? Just trying to think of some other things. One thing that's really nice is the paint format. Okay, let me get rid of my chart here. This is something that I'm just trying to think of things that people have asked me before, and I want to change my text. I want it to clip all the way across. because I have really tall rows here for some reason, and I don't. Oh, it's because these have hard returns in them. That's what it is. Okay, no problem. Where was I? Okay, yeah, the paint format. That's right. So let's say that you know, this row, I want that formatted a different way for whatever reason. You know, I want it to be a yellow background, and I want it to have black text. Boy, that is a bright yellow. Let's change that background just something a little softer. There we go. And I have multiple rows like this that I want to format in a very specific way. Maybe I want my fill color on that row. Heaven forbid you would, well, let's go with blue. Nope, that's, sorry, wrong fill color. I want the text to be blue for whatever reason. Maybe I want it to be purple. Oh, I keep clicking on the fill color. Goodness. Sorry. I want the text to be dark purple. There we go. For whatever reason. I'm going to go and I have this row selected, and I click on the paintbrush, and then I can click on another row, and it will magically format that row exactly like this row. And I click the paintbrush again, and it will magically format this row 57, and so on. It also gives you this little menu. It's the paste menu, which is really nice, that you can paste values or just the format. So if you're pasting something into a spreadsheet, I usually recommend choosing go to the Edit and Paste Special and choose like Paste Values Only. That way you don't get format from some other spreadsheet or from some document or something like that. But that's a little bit about formatting. But in the Edit menu, you've got all kinds of things that you can do. You know, you can even include the column widths. You know, you can just paste formulas. A lot of times if you try to paste, like if I pasted this, if I copied this formula that I have, or this 32, if I copy that and paste it somewhere else in the spreadsheet, you could paste just the value rather than the formula. So if you needed that value somewhere else, but you don't need the formula to go with it, you can do that. You can paste that over there with your Paste Special menu there. Let's see what else we have here. Moving cells, deleting cells, those kinds of things. You've got all kinds of options. You can right-click and you can clear the row of data, or I'm gonna undo that. And let me show you another formatting idea that you can use for the paintbrush. So I'm going to select two rows, click my paint format, and then I'm going to click here and I'm going to drag down, and it's going to reformat all of that stuff like it should be. So if you're formatting a range of things, it's not much different than clicking on something here and dragging it to share a pattern, right? I'm going to undo that. It would be the same thing with clicking on the format button and dragging it across several rows. It's going to format all of those rows together. Let me see what else I need. We're about to wrap up here because we're running short on time. I mean, spreadsheets could probably easily take multiple sessions for me to tell you everything that there is here, but I think I've covered probably most of the things you need, at least to get started. If you're freezing rows, sometimes you want that question to remain there at the top. As you scroll down through a spreadsheet, you want to see what your header says. So freezing rows is something really nice you can do. Protected ranges, formula bar. So if you click on the formula bar, then when you click down here where we typed a formula in, it shows me my formula here in the formula bar. So that's a nice function. That's under the view, you can turn that formula bar on and off. You can actually do this and it will show you your formulas rather than your values. So we want to turn that off, and of course we've got zoom and full screen and things like that. So probably I've covered the majority of things that you need. Conditional formatting, yeah, I really want to talk about that. So let's do this. Let me give you a conditional formatting example. So I'm going to select all of this data right here, and I'm going to right click and go all the way to the bottom and go to my conditional formatting. So I'm going to open my conditional formatting menu, and so if the cell is 45 or greater, if it's equal to or greater than or equal to 45, then, wait, what's my max value is 42, so equal to or greater than 38, I want it to be a nice green background with white text. So I want that to be that way, and so you can see it's already formatting stuff. Let's go with 30, well, we'll leave it at 38. And I'll click done. And if I add another rule, here's the range that you're doing. You also have a color scale that you could do, which is nice. Actually, maybe I should do that. Let's cancel out of there. And let's go with color scale. So you've got minimum and maximum values. So your max value is going to be green. Your minimum value is going to be red. And your midpoint is going to be yellow. A number. Your midpoint is going to be yellow. So we're going to go from the midpoint. This takes the minimum, whatever the minimum value is. This takes the maximum value, and this is your midpoint, whatever the number is. So if we said the midpoint was 30, then it would change things, and so that's probably a much better representation of this data. And I really probably want this to be white, so it's a little easier to see. And so I can just look at that data without even looking at a chart and see how things look. You know, it's like see how this data is reflected. So my lower values are one color, my higher values are another color. So we have a color scale. You could do that with multiple rules, but using the color scale is probably a better option for this. So you could have it where, you know, this range of values is green, this range of values is yellow, and then anything below this value is red with multiple rules here. So that's probably what I would do. Okay, 3 minutes left. I try to keep these to an hour or less, but seriously, you could talk about spreadsheets for a long time because there's things like nested formulas where you have multiple formulas. There's all kinds of... I created a whole gradebook one time. It was basically a gradebook program just with Google Sheets. That's all we did. And we used that, and it automatically emailed progress reports to students. And so there are just so many things that you can do with spreadsheets. I just really would encourage you to start using them, and as you start using them, think about the things that you would want a spreadsheet to do for you, because there probably is a way for it to do something for you. It is, it's a very valuable tool I have found in my career as a teacher. So, hope that's helped you. Hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and appreciate you watching this video. I hope that it's been meaningful to you. If you have comments or concerns or questions, please contact me. My email is, you can use my SNU email, which is jbowie@snu.edu, or you can contact me on my personal email, Jody with a Y at jodybowie.com. That's Jody with a Y and Bowie with an IE. So, see you later. Hope you have a good day.